So adults, if you'll pardon me, I am going to talk to our kids and our youth, but I invite you to eavesdrop. There might be something here that you might enjoy hearing. And to you, our children and our youth, I've come to tell you about God in 7 minutes, because the ongoing refrain I've heard over the last 20 plus years is that as you get into your teens, and some of you being very precocious even before that, become disenchanted with the idea of God and church and Christianity. And I'm here to tell you, I get it. In all actuality, it doesn't really make much sense, does it? It doesn't take much critical thinking to see the flaws in the whole concept. And really, just look around. There's a whole lot wrong with the world, with people, with ideologies, and religions, and all the isms, the hate, the injustice, the violence, the apathy, the hypocrisy. I could go on, but I'm sure you get the point. Not much evidence of God day to day. I read the statistics on child and teen suicide, and in my despair, I sense that God doesn't feel very real to a great majority of our youth. And while that makes me truly sad and even angry, not at you, but at humanity in general, there is something that I feel I need to tell you, and that is that I hear you. I understand, honestly. I also want to say, and you will scoff at this most likely, but I actually think that you know far more about God than I do. So if you don't believe in my God or the church's God, I'm okay with that. And hopefully I'll still have a job when I finish here. I'm going to talk about light and color and things unseen and unknowable, and yet I have known many of you your entire lives. You've come through Sunday school and you've heard stories from the Bible. We've talked about ancient peoples and places and the God that they believed in, a God strangely present and vocal and pushy and not always what you might hope God might be, a bit of a bully at times, impish at others, and even cruel, favoring one group over another, sanctioning brutal conquests at the cost of hundreds of lives. Not a God that appeals to me either. Then we come to the stories about a man who tells of a different God, a Father who loves us and cares for us. This man, Jesus, teaches and preaches and heals and performs miracles and says he is the Son of God and that we are all beloved of this Father who awaits us in heaven. A lot friendlier God, but he has a strange way of showing his love, allowing the betrayal and crucifixion of his Son, the fear and persecution of the disciples, his followers, who carry the message beyond and throughout the known world, and injustice continues. And then the church. Oh, the church. What started in homes of faithful believers becomes a worldwide institution led by people hungry for power and position and money. And as we look at our world today, not much has changed in certain quarters. And the powerful still turn their backs on the injustice, the poverty, and the cruelty. Oh, yes. I understand your doubts. But let me tell you from this vantage point of age and perhaps a modicum of wisdom why I believe in God and why I believe that you know more about God than I do. I believe with all my heart and soul and mind that we are in the midst of a revolution, or more accurately, a spiritual shift, an evolutionary shift, one that you were born a part of. How do I know this? I know this because you are infinitely more tolerant of differences, at least until we adults teach you otherwise. Gender and sexuality have a very different meaning to you than they do to me, though I'm trying hard to learn. And spirituality has a very different meaning to you. And again, I'm trying very hard to learn that as well. You are a generation that instinctively understands the concepts of quantum physics and cosmology, ideas that have changed so much in the last 60 years that you couldn't possibly conceive of what we all took for granted back when I was your age. My grandmother was alive when the first automobile and the first airplane were invented. It all has happened that fast. For centuries, from as far back as the beginning of the Bible through the time of Jesus until the time of my grandmother, less than 100 years ago, animals were the main source of transportation, pulling carriages. But in less than 100 years, centuries of a basic understanding of the world have turned upside down and inside out. My first television was black and white. What you have now is beyond my comprehension. All of this leads me to say that we are teaching you about a God that is perhaps as antiquated as that black and white television of my youth. You know that there is something missing, something that doesn't fit for you when we talk about God. And I think about this a lot. Now, I don't think God is an old guy in the sky sitting on a throne with Jesus at his right hand. That doesn't fit with what I know either, what I experience or what I feel. And let's be honest, it isn't what we've taught you here either. What I know is that I don't know, and I'm okay with that. There is much that I suspect. There are many things that point me to God, things that have happened to me throughout my life, and things that I've read that ring true to me. And I can tell you that what I thought when I was your age and what I think now are vastly different. God has evolved for me throughout my life. I believe in the mystery that is what I perceive as God in the common vernacular. I suspect that God is intelligent, purposeful, energetic, light, and love, beyond anything that we can imagine. I believe that the intelligent, purposeful, energetic force that is God is within everything in the universe and in every particle of every cell that makes up our being. I know that my faith, sometimes colorful and sometimes dulled, is the guiding light in my life, and without it, I couldn't function. Jesus, well, I don't think did us any favors with the male construct of God, points us always to a God that is love and light, and I need both, Jesus and God, in my life, just to be able to breathe and to be. And I believe in miracles because I have experienced them, the big, life-changing, defying the known laws of nature kind of miracles and I don't have any explanation for that, beyond the fact that the energetic force that is God suspended those laws to create those miracles. and I look out at you, and I very much want you to teach me what you discover about God. Because you are a part of the spiritual transformation that is happening. You are the future, and the future is filled with light. Your light. This has been a dark time on so many levels for many of us. Painful, and it's easy to give up hope in those moments. But what I see, and what I want you to hear, is this. This is the last vestiges of a very old and ingrained system protecting its power and its greed. It is a story repeated over and over throughout history, and it continues today. But a new way is being made clear. In a way, what is happening is we are ripping away the shadows and showing the centuries of deliberate injustice, just as Jesus did 2,000 years ago. And I believe that you, our children and our youth, are the leading edge of radical change that leads the change from a deeply spiritual place that we will, oh man, I messed this up. I believe you are the leading edge of radical change that leads from a deeply spiritual place that will keep shining the light into the dark corners and saying, no more, enough. There is a better way. And we will lead that way. You will bring color back into a dark world. And you will need each other to stay strong and true to that cause. A community that transforms your world. You may or may not call that church. But if you do, I imagine it will look very different. I'm betting, though, that there are candles and quiet and people who speak to a deep longing for the love that transcends all love and for the light that transcends all light. You may call it by different names, but the energetic force that I choose to call God will always be there. God is like the air we breathe, the light of day and the dark of night. It simply is. Above, behind, beneath, beside, in front, all around. Believe or not, God of the cosmos, cellular and infinite, will hold you now and forever in love and in light. And you, my dear ones, are the light of the world. And I love you very much. Amen.